Welcome to Analysis in Chains with Nathan and Neal. How you doing, everyone? Nathan Williams here. With me, as always, is Neal. Well, as always, we're back on the wagon after kind of phoning it in earlier this week. I was traveling, and we also had our first interview that went really well with my good friend Radoslav. Thank you, Radoslav, for appearing on our show. Now that we're back, now that I've returned from my adventures, we're ready to record another day. How you doing, Neal?
I'm doing fantastic, Nathan. How were your travels? I missed you. I was crying myself to sleep because it's been too long since we were chatting and doing this show. So how'd it go?
I know the bromance was on hold.
Yeah.
Well, I actually, a quick update. As you know, I'm working on my own startup here that's going to track conflict-free minerals using blockchain. And one of the efforts that I'm doing in order to do this is meeting with people from larger organizations who are dealing with the mineral supply chain and getting them to come on board to an alliance, basically a research alliance. I'm in the process of setting up experimental pilots for what I've designed, essentially, and getting people to sign up in order to be part of that research process and to support the effort. So I was in Brussels, met with a few different people who said that they'll bring it to their boards. It looks like we're getting our first large organizations on board. Hopefully I'll have something to announce soon.
Fantastic. That was great marketing, except for the fact you left out the name of your company.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, the alliance that we're forming is called the Better Chain Alliance, and you can see it at betterchain.org. And right now there's not a whole lot on that website, but there will be very, very soon, including all of the amazing big logos from all the big companies. And so if you've got a big company that you want to be part of there, you can sign up on the website.
Nathan Williams, saving the world.
Yeah. The name of the project that I had originally conceived is MindSpider, but I think that's more of a software name than a big alliance name. So, anyway, we're still working that out. It's early days. So did you see all of the amazing entries we had for the bot name?
Yeah, there's quite a few interesting names. I think we've narrowed it down to 3 that we're enthusiastic about, that we hope that people can share their view on which they see as their favorite.
So for those of you who don't remember, I made a Twitter bot, and it's online at twitter.com/analysisinchain, or at analysisinchain without the S. So right now it's just called the Analysis in Chains bot, but we wanted people to write in and suggest names. So we've got 3 finalists. They were Bit the Bot, Body McBotface, and Bot in Chains. So if you're interested in engaging with us, then you can write in and vote for which one of those 3 finalists is your favorite, and then we'll name it. And if you are voting for the winner, then you'll be entered into our random draw. And if you're selected, you'll get some nutshells, the Analysis in Chains Neal and Nathan tokens. Doesn't that sound fun?
It does sound fun. Do you know what's kind of either depressing or impressive? Is that bot is now overtaking our main Twitter handle for the show. So yeah. I don't know.
It's true.
I don't know if that's testament to your awesome programming skills, Nathan, or
I think it just tweets more.
Oh, yeah. It creates so much noise that it's just like it's sucking everyone in, and everyone just eventually follows it. So yeah, great marketing initiative, Nathan.
It actually didn't know. It actually started just tweeting every half hour a new crypto price, like a different crypto price. But what I did is I inserted the ability to tweet at the bot, or not tweet at it, but direct message the bot. So you can direct message it with a crypto symbol like $BTC or XRM or whatever, and it'll tweet back the current price up to the minute. So that's so people have actually started using that more and more in the past few days. So good, we're adding value to the world. Look at us.
Fantastic.
Last bit of news: interviews. We started our interview session on Friday with Radoslav Albrecht, but we've got others that we've already conducted. I have recently interviewed Sergei Nazarov of Smart Contract. Neal, who did you interview?
I interviewed Professor Aglos Kayas. He is part of IOHK. He did some work on a proof of stake protocol that is now being used by, I think, Carvana, which may do an ICO soon. So, yeah, it's very, very interesting getting some technical insight into his work, but also helps you really understand the benefits of different ways of running a blockchain. And one of the things that he was focusing on was, improving energy efficiency. So, yeah, it was a fun interview.
Oh, man. So everyone's going to have a lot to look forward to once those things are edited and put up. They're going to be coming up in future shows. And we're in the process of finalizing the schedule. As soon as it's up, we'll let you know. And we'll put it on our website, www.analysisinchains.com. That's it for our news. Unless you had anything else, Neal?
No, I'm just excited about what's been happening the last week, Nathan.
All right. Well, if anyone has any interesting news or anything to comment on to us, write us at info@analysisinchains.com, and maybe we'll comment on what you say on our podcast, and you'll get some free nutshells for participating. All right. And don't worry, we're going to get a white paper up for those nutshells soon. That way everyone can be excited at how much they're amazingly worth. I still want my Whopper coin. No one wrote in about Whopper coin. Does anyone have Whopper coin? I want to know. Write us. info@analysis.chains.com. All right. That took up a long time, but we had a lot to cover. Now let's get into our show.
Yeah, so...
that would have been a great time to have an intro reel.
Yeah, I know, yeah. I guess next time. Yeah, something to do this weekend. So
boots, show. All right.
So yeah, it's a big week. I thought it was very, very interesting what happened. I'm happy we didn't actually have a show on Monday, because all we will be doing will be running around screaming it's the end of the world, and we'll be...
The sky is falling.
The sky is falling. We'll be prophesizing the end of blockchain and Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and we will have been completely wrong. So I'm happy that we saved ourselves that embarrassment. Me, yeah. It would be me. Yeah, that would be insane. This is a sell.
I would have taken the opposite view, if only because you took you were pessimistic.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't agree with Neal. Come on.
Yeah. So I was just happy we didn't have that show, because I knew what I would be saying. But I'm happy that we have this time to reflect and see what happened. And I did a lot of analysis to try and understand. Okay, like, how is it that something that was big news that did cause a reaction, why did it only last like 2 or 3 days? And the thing is, people often say, well, this is a different asset class. This is different. It shouldn't behave like normal financial markets. Whereas I would have the view, well, generally when you have big news like this in financial markets, like, it would cause a big correction, but also cause a period of, say, calmness, where you might have zero growth, or might fluctuate like up or down 1% for a period of a few days. But wow, it just like ripped right back up to like 4,600. It went as low as 4,000, went back up to 4,600. So that's more of a 10% gain in a space of very few days. So it really is quite incredible to watch this unfold, because it's so hard to understand, like, how is this happening, or why is it happening?
That's right. I mean, for the benefit of the people who may not listen to these podcasts as they come out, the news that we're talking about specifically was China bringing down the ban hammer on ICOs. So Yeah, basically there was an announcement, or when was that, Neil?
It
Last
was
week?
it was a Friday or Saturday when the announcement came out, and I think Bitcoin peaked at 5,000, and it was around by then the news came out, and then it was just like free for all for like 2 or 3 days. But like it is significant news in the sense that when we look at ICOs, a lot of that boom was coming in the Asia region, and one of the main reasons for that was to sort of keep away from American legislation. I think it made a lot of people feel more protected over there, and because there's been so much, I guess, liquidity building up in China in the tech space. So it did make sense to have a big boom over there in China in particular. But I guess this news. It's not a big surprise. We saw some news come out of America a few weeks ago from the SEC. And when something becomes so highly valued, well, $150 billion, this whole cryptocurrency market, it's no surprise that governments start to react. And I think we will see more governments, sort of determine their position in the upcoming weeks, because if they don't really understand it, well, then the natural reaction is just to ban it until they understand it and then let it go in an environment that they feel more comfortable.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the China news was just one in a series of regulatory steps. I mean, the SEC basically shut down a security like ICO after it had raised Ethereum back on August 24th. It was Protostar, and they're demanding the return of funds. Before that, there was the SEC decision on the DAO. I mean, this is coming because when you have these unregulated markets, you have a lot of good that can come out of it, but also a lot of excitement, a lot of new technology, a lot of hype, but you also have the potential for abuse, for money laundering, for all sorts of things that they want to get a handle on. But it's interesting, I find as well, that none of these countries that are trying to get a hold on it is operating in a vacuum. Anything China does affects the US, and anything Japan does affects both of them. And what we've seen is, China is now experimenting with their own cryptocurrency, even though they seem to be taking regulatory action against ICOs or against some ICOs. It may end up being temporary. And Japan has been more and more enthusiastic with a lot of ICO money coming from there in recent days. And so any country that is starting to take action may find that they're somewhat undercut by the actions of other countries.
Yeah, I think you just made a very good point there, Nathan. What we're seeing in the last month is a lot of Bitcoin activity is coming from Japan. And Japan, has stated, like their government has stated, that they're very enthusiastic about Bitcoin in particular, and they're encouraging local entrepreneurs to get involved and find ways to use it. So as you say that, if one current, like, it's almost like a risk for a country to bring in some laws and regulation about crypto, because other countries could steal the march. Like we're seeing over here in North America, Canada has now taken a pro ICO stance, whereas in America, it's kind of like it still isn't 100% sure, but it's more leaning towards against ICOs. So I would see that as a big opportunity for Canada. And but in terms of the Bitcoin price. I was so curious when the price fell, who would be buying it? Why would this go back up? And I thought it would stay low for a while. It was because of Japan. Japan just threw themselves in and bought up as much as possible because their economy is really getting behind Bitcoin. And I guess this is one of the reasons why Bitcoin may continue to rise, and we see so many people get so excited, because some of those countries are just so enthusiastic. It's hard to derail this Bitcoin price growth.
Mm. Do you remember the Napster debacle back in the mid-90s? This is what it reminds me of. And if you ever saw the movie The Social Network,
Yeah.
where Justin Timberlake's character is
He plays Sean Parker. Yeah.
Sean Parker, yeah. He was talking about how Napster disrupted the industry, and that was sort of the first use of the word disruption. And, Napster failed. But nevertheless, it succeeded because it disrupted the recording industry, and they never recovered. It was forever changed. And nowadays, you look at the recording industry, and it's very, very different. It's still making lots of money, but it's in a different way. And now people can access music via legal streaming means, by Spotify, that sort of thing. Well, this is exactly what we're seeing in the currency market right now. In a way, it doesn't matter if all of these ICOs succeed or not. The fact that they're changing the way that currency, that investments, that ownership, that transfers are done, fundamentally changes the way we perceive these industries. And even when, I say when because I'm sure that it's not going to be the Wild West forever, but even when regulation comes back in and starts to take hold of different areas, is going to completely change the landscape.
I partially agree. It's like, when you use the Sean Parker Napster example, it's like this type of disruption is good. It is healthy. It's good for innovation. When we think back to what happened with Napster, it has changed how we consume music, but has actually made the record companies more powerful. And I don't think that's something that many people are aware of, because whenever we go on YouTube and we listen to a song, we're thinking, hey, this is free. Good for you, Napster. This is thanks to you. But they don't realize how much money those record companies make from you just watching that YouTube video. So they really have cornered the free music market. And what we see now is the likes of Spotify, we're like listening to this music for free, and we're like, yeah, thank you again, Napster. But it turns out that if you listen to music from the 70s or 80s, the artists are not getting any of that music, because when they wrote the contracts signing up to the record labels, this medium or this channel did not exist. So therefore the artist gets no money from these digital revenue, and all goes in the back pocket of the recording company or the recording label. So what I feel, what I got out of that whole thing, and there was a book out there about how the music industry was disrupted. I'll write it in the comments later on what it was. What I took from it was that actually these companies, like, they got disrupted but became stronger and bigger. And it may not seem like it, but that ended up being the case. And so I often wonder, okay, could we see the same with crypto? Things may get disrupted. It may seem that we're changing the landscape for the better, but we could be making the bigger players even more stronger. And so I often wonder, could we see PayPal and Square and all of these companies that are allowing us to transact on internet or at the retail spaces, could they become even more stronger? Or could the governments become more stronger? Because when we look at China and how we're saying like they're going to be introducing a China coin, maybe their own monetary system and policies would become even more stronger because of cryptocurrencies. So this is what I'm very, very curious about. Like, we have this perception, but will it actually play out?
To be honest, I think I think that is the way it's going to go down. And I mean, I could be wrong, but here's the thing. Even with the Napster thing, a lot did change. Even though the record labels and the early producers of music, they became stronger, there were a lot of mediums that lost. Radio was one of the big ones. In a different way, TV, like music stations, like the music the music stations ended up moving to reality shows, right?
Yeah. Oh, good point.
Yeah, because it just wasn't viable anymore, and so it shifted the way the industry was. Even though some of the incumbents stayed, but the incumbents that stayed found a way to work within the new medium, and I think that's what's going to happen. I don't think it's going to be that it diversifies the market so that there's going to be thousands of little coins or little finance agencies or anything that end up ruling. I think it's going to be a couple of large winners combined with some of the older institutions, some of the bigger banks that are the first to adapt to this new reality that are going to come out on top. Because, I mean, you're seeing them scramble already. You're seeing Australia experiment with their new coin. You see Canada coming out with their, and China coming out with their crypto experiments. And as far as the public's concerned, they just want to see money that they can receive and money that they can spend. They're not, the average person isn't thinking in an anarchistic term. They're not thinking of idealism regarding crypto. They're also not thinking tech regarding crypto. They're just thinking as another thing I can buy and sell and spend. And and the people that are talking about it are different. They're the people that are excited about either the ideals or the possibilities or the tech or the gains. So because the large majority isn't in that same on that same level, they're not seeing eye to eye necessarily. I think we're going to see the people who already have more power, as long as they adapt somewhat, are going to be able to consolidate it. But I mean, that's just a guess. We'll see. Yeah,
no, I totally agree with what you're saying. It's very much up in the air, but it's almost like a pattern that we've seen over time in terms of disruption and how major players react. They do get, beaten around for a short period of time, like maybe over a period of 5 years, but then they reconsolidate and, maybe they buy each other out and become even more stronger, and then they finally get a hold of that market. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. And it's one of the reasons why we're so fascinated with cryptocurrencies, because there's so many storylines to follow to try and figure out how this new world will develop.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up there, Neal. I want a final prediction from you. Is the crypto market going to rally soon? Or is it gonna, or are we only seeing a short-term correction? Are we gonna tank it again?
It's like I'm of two minds. One part of me is like, no, this is it. It's gonna fall. It's gonna go over a cliff any day. But based on my recent analysis, there seems to be two waves. One is that the Japanese enthusiasm really is supporting the currency, like Bitcoin currency, and I think as long as Bitcoin does well, the rest of cryptos do quite well. And we're seeing a huge hold position from so many North Americans, just based on going on Twitter. The North Americans just seem to be obsessed with just buying and holding and riding through the difficult times like we saw in the last few days. So with those two forces, I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin hit 8,000, 9,000, but then if it hits 8,000, 9,000 like very, very quickly, like we saw it hit 5,000, I would be extremely nervous going forward. But it's so hard to predict. It can go up 50% next week. It can drop 20% next week. So yeah, we're not financial advisors, and we're not saying you should buy, but you need to do your own research.
Yeah, we're just guessing.
Yeah, we're just really just guessing because it's so hard to predict right now.
Of course, I think financial advisors are just guessing at this point too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I mean, I agree with you. It could go either way, but my gut's telling me it's still on its way up, just because it's. I think people are the people who are still involved right now are more than just speculating. I think they're sold. They've drunk the Kool-Aid. They're excited about the possibility of these cryptocurrencies, and I don't think that excitement is going away, because you really do have an interesting new technology there. But if you think we're right, or if you think we're wrong, feel free to write us in at info@analysisandchains. All right. Thanks a lot. That's our show. Thanks for tuning in to Analysis and Chains with Nathan and Neal. Check us out at analysisandchains.com, on iTunes, Podbean, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. And until next time, keep hashing.